Spoiler alert, in The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 2, Sauron has started his scheme to conquer Middle-earth. But is he really accomplishing anything with all this flirting? Taking a different tack with Tolkien's books, the Prime Video series chooses to screen the Second Age instead of the more well-known Third Age, which is where Frodo's adventure takes place. This presents an opportunity to depict Sauron's ascent to the level of Dark Lord by the use of his Rings of Power. But there is much to be resolved because Tolkien gave little specifics about this. Rings of Power has, as it stands, brought about a few surprises. After Sauron and Celebrimbor successfully craft the 7 Dwarven Rings in the Rings of Power Season 2, Episode 5, the Dark Lord sets his sights on the 9 meant for men. But this is also the point at which events at the Eregion Forge start to get out of hand. The fact that Celebrimbor was unwilling to make the 9 greatly irritated Sauron Anatar. He had to use every trick in the book to get the smiths to follow his instructions once more and adhere to his original plan, including some serious flirting with Merdania.
This is a night for dwarves. Come, we shall speak of men tomorrow.
Welcome to Movie Spy. In Season 2 of The Rings of Power, Sauron makes love to Merdania after Galadriel in Season 1. The gift giver is moving on to his next victim. Anatar deliberately messed up a few things, recommending that the elves add extra mithril to their attempts to make the rings in an attempt to persuade Celebrimbor to resume work on the 9. The ensuing turmoil had the intended outcome since Celebrimbor could not bear to see them completely screw things up. But in the process, Merdania managed to get one of the rings on her finger, and she finally saw Anatar for what he really was, a demonic creature who exuded death. Naturally, Sauron used his enchantment to trick Merdania into believing that the entity she saw was actually Celebrimbor's anguished soul, preventing her from realizing that the creature she saw was indeed him. He really poured it on thick, too. Sauron took advantage of her ego as well as her compassion by telling her that under certain lighting conditions, she resembled the stunning Lady Galadriel. Naturally, Sauron had tried this same method before. He essentially performed the same thing as Halbrand in Rings of Power Season 1. Seducing Galadriel with smoldering looks and heart-to-hearts. Do Sauron really feel this way about Galadriel and Merdania? Sauron is never without an objective. It is important not to mistake Sauron's flirting for genuine adoration. In particular, he feels that Merdania is someone who is totally unworthy of his regard. Galadriel, however, is a tale unto herself. While he isn't in love with her in the usual sense, given Galadriel's might, Sauron was probably sincere when he said he felt a particular something while fighting beside her. In the Rings of Power, he sincerely hopes she will become his queen because she will bolster his authority over Middle-earth's hearts and minds. Galadriel will always find herself tempted at this time. It is plausible that Sauron was sincere when he claimed that Merdania resembled Galadriel, and that he even respects her intelligence given that she is the only one who appears to be aware of a serious problem at the Forge. Nevertheless, his primary objective is to win her love and trust so that he can control her more easily. That could, however, backfire. Many puppets serve Sauron's purposes, but even a strong entity like him will eventually run out of hands to manage them. The Dark Lord's increasing desperate behavior is seen through his flirtation with Merdania. Sauron from the Rings of Power is comparable to a whiny child and Celebrimbor's the parent. There was a lot of pouting in Season 2 of Rings of Power. The more irritated Celebrimbor becomes in Season 2 of Rings of Power, the less composure Sauron maintains. His disguise as the Lord of Gifts, Anatar, keeps falling off because Celebrimbor will not comply. Finally, like a spoilt kid, Sauron storms out of the room after declaring that he will just make the 9 by himself. Then, knowing he could not resist taking over if Anatar and the Smiths were not doing a good enough job, he employed the time-honored strategy of weaponized ineptitude to win Celebrimbor back. Sadly for Celebrimbor, the ancient youth pouting beside his forge is far more intelligent than he is. Consequently, the Lord of Eregion is becoming more and more insane and hopeless as a result of Sauron's seduction, flattery, and manipulation. Sadly, Celeborn's chances of survival are slim. After Rings of Power, Sauron will not have much chance either, although it is a much longer way off. Thanks for watching.